is an historic occasion on many counts. On Friday in Chicago, the Board of Directors of the Bexley-Seabury Seminary Federation, on the unanimous recommendation of the faculty, voted to confer the degree of Doctor of Ministry on Dean John Paul Downey. Well, it's historic for this congregation because this has never happened here before. So I'm delighted to be able to present this diploma and to end this academic hood in the context of the congregation for whom this thesis in the diploma from the Bexley-Seabury Federation. This is actually a culmination of a merger of two very ancient institutions in the Episcopal Church. Bexley Hall Seminary, founded by Bishop Philander Chase in the early 19th century, and the Seabury Western Theological Seminary, first founded in Faribault, Minnesota, as a mission seminary, and united with Western Seminary in Chicago in 1933. Last year, the two seminaries decided to federate, to merge, and so we now have two campuses, one in Chicago, where we prepare for the Doctor of Ministry, and another in the Association of Chicago Theological Schools, the ACTS program. So in so doing, this is both an Episcopal degree from Bexley-Seabury, but in many ways an ecumenical degree, because the work for this thesis was done in the midst of an ecumenical community. And I asked Dean Downey to come forward. I'll read. We also made a decision that we're going to do this in a language understanding of the people. So it is in English that I will read this to you. In the name of the Father, and the Western Theological Seminary Federation, hereby attest that John Paul Downey has proceeded to the degree of Doctor of Ministry and Preaching, and to all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto, given in Chicago, Illinois. You would take one step. Applause is appropriate.
Greetings to all those gathered for this outstanding occasion in which we celebrate the achievement of our cathedral dean. For most of us who know Dean Downey, we know that the three of us were sitting in Barbara Aiken's office having a conversation. One person now has a PhD and is an expert in Chinese diplomatic history, the other a practicing physician, and I was the slouch in the room at the time. We were all sitting there, and she was talking about the student. Only the one who's the Chinese diplomatic history expert said the obvious question in the room, which is, well, what about us? And she looked right at him and said, in a different class, kid. He's in a different class.
And this is our chance also as well to recognize that Bishop Sean has walked a similar journey and has received his doctoral degree from Downey University, and we were on a similar timetable in many ways and could often compare notes about where we were along the journey of classes and research and writing and oral defense and then coming up to graduation. Courage of those two seminaries to look reality in the face and do something new, do something different, and be positioned in a way to adapt. And this is the kind of adaptation. And I am a little nostalgic though, because my MDiv graduation from the old Seabury in Evanston, Illinois, we knelt down when we received our hoods, and it was in Latin at that time. So I want to express some further gratitude beyond what I wrote in the bulletin, particularly to folks who have made this our reception, which I hope you'll come back to, the vergers and acolytes and singers, some of whom did double duty today, and Alan Slovenkay for coming to be our organist for this occasion, as he often does on special occasions. including back when I was installed here as the dean, which is really a long time ago. You probably don't chapel on Sunday evenings. So the chapel was packed with 2,400 students every Sunday night, most all of whom did not want to be there. And they had a way of showing they didn't want to be there. It was mostly done by the fraternities. Someone would cough over here, and then someone would cough over there, and then someone would cough over there, and we'd go through the entire evening prayer service. We turned in our computer cards at the end and proved that we had been there. While I was in college, the Sunday evening chapel requirement was dropped. And guess what? The next year, nobody went to Sunday evening chapel, with the exception of the choir, who were getting credit for singing in the choir. Then we had a dean of the chapel appointed whose name was Bruce Thielman. Bruce was one of the greatest preachers in the Presbyterian Church in his generation. And solely on the basis of preaching, students began to come to worship on Sunday nights. They didn't have to. It wasn't required. The coughing was over. The computer cards were over. But students came back solely through the power